Hey, friends. Welcome back to the Kitchen Table Dreams podcast. I am your host, Chef Kimberly Houston. I want to bring y'all into something that's going on. So, for the past couple of weeks, I have been working on restructuring my business. And here's what happened. So, my company, Teach Me How to Bake, is more than a blog. It's the entire inception of it was to build out a very particular company. That doesn't actually exist just yet. And so, as I was thinking about what I wanted my company to look like, I started visioning for the future and then working backwards to reverse engineer how to get there. And so, one of the things that I have been doing is adjusting the blog. And so, teachmehowtobake.com has a wealth of resources, a lot of recipes for from scratch baking for people who are looking for that content. And so this week I ended up working on pound cakes. So I was thinking about Easter, springtime, bridal showers, things of the sort. What recipes are people looking for? And so for the past 4 years, for those of you who don't know, I have been primarily focused on food photography. And so I have a lot of content sitting in Dropbox that I had yet to put on my own website because I've been shooting cookbooks, blog info, things of the sort for other people. And so now I'm finally taking the time to do it for myself. And I'm putting all these different types of pound cakes up on Teach Me How to Bake, a key lime pound cake, red velvet, 7-Up, lemon, a buttermilk pound cake, vanilla bean pound cake. If you get the cookies and cream, like you think of it, it's going up there, right? And as I was doing this, one of the things that I was really, really fascinated by is I put a very detailed recipe plus note section on all of my recipes because I want you to avoid common pitfalls in recipes. And so I tell you the importance of creaming your butter and your sugar, why you should be using room temperature butters, how to bring your eggs up to room temperature without letting them sit out, and why that's important. There are things that I know intuitively as a pastry chef that went to Le Cordon Bleu that other people are not going to know. And because I recognize that, I make sure that my content brings you into my thinking, right? And so as I was doing this, I realized that the intricacies of making a pound cake, understanding the ingredients, the temperature of the ingredients, the ratios, the timing, the temperature of the oven, all of these things come into play. And if you don't have the foundation done correctly, then it's going to fail, right? Like in the very first step of a recipe, it says cream the butter and sugar. If you do not cream the butter and sugar properly, and that means it becomes light and fluffy. It literally becomes light and fluffy. If you were to rub some between your fingers, you do not feel the sugar granules. There is a very specific method of creaming butter and sugar together in order for you to get this very light, airy, buttery pound cake, right? And so I tell you this, but I also know that if you don't actually cream your butter and sugar for that pound cake, then you have already messed up the foundation for what you are expecting to be your outcome. And that got me thinking about entrepreneurship. Track with me here, okay? So when I think about the advice that I have been given over the past 14 years as an entrepreneur, there's some advice I've been given that was not the greatest, okay? And so I have just kind of boiled this down to 5 of the worst business advice things I have been told. And I want to share them with you so that you don't make some of the mistakes that I made in business, okay? So first is borrowing someone else's audience. Okay, listen, this one's a little controversial. I didn't hear this one until I moved into the digital space. In the digital space, what this looks like is I could go on someone else's podcast, and the reason you would do that is to borrow their audience, right? you're not necessarily just providing, like providing more information for that audience, providing value to that audience. You're also hoping that when people hear you speak, they want to come be a part of your audience. They want to come over into your world. They want to join your newsletter. Okay. That is borrowing someone else's audience. Now that's the advice that I was given. The thing that I have learned is every audience might not be aligned with where you're going. It is more important for you to find out who their audience is, what they talk about, what their mindset is, and then ask yourself, is this in direct alignment with where I'm going in my business? Having a platform to speak to people who are not your target market will increase your visibility, but it will not increase your income. This is one of the mistakes that I made a couple of years ago, and I didn't understand that this is a mistake I was making until very, very recently. When I began doing content audits, doing audits on all the things that I've created over the past couple of years as a digital entrepreneur, and then looking at my actual dream, the things didn't align. I have classes that were built for someone else's audience that wasn't my intended audience. And my audience doesn't necessarily want that other content. And so when you start looking at unsubscribes via email, when you are looking at your engagement drop on social media, and you start thinking about, okay, well, who is looking at my content? Who is engaging or not engaging? When I had to make the decision at the top of the year to step more into authenticity, I had been creating content for those people who had joined my audience, right? But that wasn't actually in alignment with where my business was going. And so I started to adjust my content. And as I started adjusting my content, I realized that those people that came from the borrowed audience began unsubscribing. They began unfollowing on social media because it wasn't giving them what they came for. And whose fault is that? That's my fault. I can't blame anyone but myself on that one. Why? Because if I had understood then what I know now, I don't know that I would have created the content for that other audience that I created. I probably would have created something that was more in alignment with my audience. And if anyone from that audience resonated with it, then they could come over, right? So when you are trying to increase your visibility, I want you to think about authentic awareness over audience acquisition. Before you go to borrow someone else's audience, ask yourself, is this audience aligned with my values and my voice? So that's the first one. Here's number 2. Be able to do everyone's job in case they quit. Mastering everything is not actually a really smart business decision. And I'm going to tell you why. That comes from such a lack mindset. I want you to think about that. And here's why I'm bringing this one up. I used to think it was a badge of honor to say, I'm the janitor and the CEO of my company. And let me tell you something. Now that I've had an opportunity to be around multi-million-dollar corporations and have conversations with their CEOs, those people are not cleaning the damn toilets. They are not. They are not. They hire people for that. They're not cleaning the toilets, love. It is not a badge of honor for you to be an enterprise of one, an empire of one. It is not. That means that you don't know how to delegate. When I think about, and not even just think about, so I have Time Hop on my phone, and Time Hop shows me, things from yesteryear. And recently, as I've been looking at Time Hop and looking at the number of cakes, cookies, cupcakes, cake pops I used to put out in a weekend, As I look at pictures of me setting up things from weddings, driving on Atlanta streets with all the potholes and being completely stressed out, the entire thought of it makes my whole body hurt. Not gonna lie, it makes my body hurt to think about what I used to do when I ran my bakery. The number of hours that I used to put in when I ran my bakery, because in my head, it made more sense for me to do all the work so that I could keep all of the profit. The thing that I understand now, as I am working on building a multi-million-dollar enterprise, is that number one is a lack mindset. Number two, it also significantly reduces output. If I had hired other people to do some of the lower level work in my business, I could have made more money. Somebody else could come in and follow my recipe and do the baking. Somebody else could make however many cups of frosting I would need for the week. Somebody else could have been working on some of the small, intricate details that would be required for the cake as it came together. But in my head, the badge of honor was that from start to finish, I touched every single thing that went out the door. And on the other side of it, I can tell you that is lack mindset. It is not an abundance mindset. And the thought that I need to know how to do everything in case someone quits also shows that I don't have trust in myself to hire the right people, and that I don't trust that my team would be able to do the things that they should be doing. I want you to understand that if you have this thought, you are not building a fortress, you're building a legacy. And in order for you to build a legacy, you have to go towards inspired action versus fear-based planning. Whenever you have these moments, I want you to ask yourself the question, am I preparing for growth or protecting against failure? Number 3, you need a degree. Okay, listen. I have 4 degrees and 3 certifications. Okay. I have a lot of education, a lot of education. I need you to understand. I have an undergraduate degree in organizational development, which means I fully understand SOPs, how to put your organization together, and how to run an HR department. My master's degree is in instructional design and adult learning. That means I know how to write curriculum. I also have a second master's degree in transformational leadership and coaching, which means I fully understand the psychology of the human brain. I understand how your childhood traumas show up in your life as an entrepreneur. I fully get how to coach people, right? And then I started work on a PhD in mind-body medicine, which is tapping more into the nervous system and understanding how trauma within our lives will show up later as undiagnosed autoimmune diseases. Okay. Certifications in education, nutrition, teaching children, etc. I have a lot of education. I also have quite a bit of student loan debt. And here's what I want to tell you. And I went to Le Cordon Bleu. We're going to throw that in there. I went to culinary school and finished top of my class. Okay. Here's what I want you to know. As a coach, as someone who is a coach and a business strategist, I have a coach. I have learned more from my coach in 6 months than any degree that I've ever gotten. Degrees teach frameworks. Coaches teach flow. Here's why I say this. I've had many coaches over the years, several coaches over the years. And the reason I've had many coaches is because they can only take you to where they are, right? And I am a star student. I am a star student. If you know, you know. Okay. If you're one of those people like me, you get it. Like you gonna show up. You are a star student. I am a star student. And so every coach that I no longer am with is not because they weren't a great coach. It's because I did everything they told me to do and I still needed more. And every single coach that I've ever had told me that they couldn't help me anymore. Right. And so the coach that I have right now, she is many, many steps ahead of where I am. And I know that we have a very particular amount of time left to be together. Right. And so I am soaking up everything that I can from her in order to learn how to run this multi-million-dollar corporation. And so the thing that I want you to know and understand is this: if you hire the right coach for yourself, for where you are in business that aligns with where you're going, you will learn more than if you just go back to school to get another degree. Of all of the degrees that I have, including me going to culinary school, not one of those programs taught me how to run a multi-million-dollar corporation. Hell, they didn't teach me how to run a six-figure corporation. They didn't teach me the back end of running a business. They didn't teach me the systems that I would need in place to run my business. They taught me skills to make things pretty. They taught me skills that would help me attract an audience, but they did not teach me how to turn the audience into people who wanted to pay me to learn more from me. And so the coach that I have right now, that's quite literally what she's teaching me. She is teaching me how to run a multi-million-dollar corporation. In order for me to be able to learn how to run the multi-million-dollar corporation, I needed to become proficient in running the six-figure corporation and then the multi-six-figure corporation in order to move to the multi-millions, correct? And so as I was going through this program, and I also have a certification from Cornell in entrepreneurship, even in that program, it didn't necessarily teach me the back-end operations of what I know right now. It did teach me that if I were to be injured and I didn't have any other people who worked for me that could do my job, that I didn't have a business, I had a glorified hobby. And that fundamentally changed my life. So as we move forward, here's what I need you to understand. Abundance mindset over academic validation has you asking the question, what gets me the result, not the recognition? I need you to get results, right? And as I have been working on my offer for Teach Me How to Bake, what is Teach Me How to Bake's signature offer going to be for people? Outside of the things that, outside of our curriculum, outside of all those things that we have, what did I think was missing from the culinary world? And you know what that thing is? And I'm not just going to say it's just from the culinary world. I'm going to say for all creative entrepreneurs, honestly, is how to run your back-end operations to get to your first six figures. Based on the research, 80% of small businesses do not reach the $100,000 mark. I want you to sit with that. I want you to sit with that. And here's why that blew my mind. Because in 2021, when I had my first $100,000 year, it was really over $100,000. But the first time that happened for me, it wasn't when I ran my bakery. It was after I closed it. It happened after I closed it. I closed my bakery officially in December of 2020. And by March of 2021, I had already made $35,000. That was more than what I made in 2020 in my business. And I was like, now, wait a minute. What is going on and how is this happening? There's some things I had to learn about a product-based business versus a service-based business. And the things that I know now, I teach other people, you need both. In this particular economic climate that we are in, you need both. If you only have a product, you need some sort of digital component that will allow you to bring in money. You need multiple streams of income. Back in 2021, I had 13 different streams of income. And at that time, I thought that was great. I was talking about that at conferences and all sorts of things. On this side of it now, 13 streams of income is crazy as hell. That's crazy. Why did I need 13 streams of income when at this point in my life, I can have 3 or 4 that are all bringing in more than those 13 streams together, right? And I want to say that's probably another lesson to learn that I hadn't put into this, but we're going to make that one number 4. So y'all going to get a bonus one. We're going to make that number 4. Having a whole bunch of products that you just keep making because you like the dopamine hit of launching a new product. Having multiple products instead of having a signature product that you are known for, that doesn't make you a better business person. That just makes you somebody who goes crazy during tax time, and you got to figure out how to put all that together. Splitting your attention across 10, 12, 15, 16, 17, 20 different types of products is a problem. How do I know who to recommend to you if you don't even know what you've produced? Having a signature offer means people can refer you to other people. They know what you do. For example, and I'm going to say this one because a lot of people who listen to me are within the culinary industry, right? So if you are someone who has an academy of classes, I can say, oh, well, that person's going to help you take your business from this to this. Let's take Teach Me How to Bake, for example. Teach Me How to Bake has a program where you can work with me for 16 weeks, and this is going to start April 15th. But you can work with me for 16 weeks, and we are going to work on the back end operation. We are going to get your business legit, making sure you have the business bank account, you have everything set up in the way you need to. We're going to have things automated where you don't have to show up all the time, where you don't feel like you need to respond to emails at 2, 3 in the morning. All these things are going to be automated. Okay. You are going to have things put in place in your business that allow you to run it with ease, running it from an abundance mindset versus living cake to cake or order to order. In the midst of that, I understand that there are going to be some things that people need in their business that other people may not. Number one, you might need to be able to take better photos of your products because you cannot afford to hire a photographer to do it. And I'm telling you, you can't, because I am a food photographer, right? I know how much money I charge people to come and take pictures at their restaurants. You can take my cell phone photography class and learn how to take your own products. That comes included, right? We could find out throughout this time that you do have an issue with abundance mindset. Well, there's a course in there teaching you how to tap into an abundance mindset. You may need some money mindset management. There's a course in there for money mindset management. You may decide, I'm tired of really standing in my kitchen. I really want to move into the digital space and I want to start a blog. Guess what? There's a class in there that teaches you how to start a food blog. All of these things are included for a certain amount of time. You have 6 months with this content outside of weekly coaching with me to get your business to 6 figures. Okay. So in my program, inside of my academy, you have me for 16 weeks where there will be hot seats where we are discussing things happening in your business, things you should have in place, how to market your business, how to find the people you're marketing, how to price without pricing just any type of way. All of those things are included in the 16 weeks, plus the resource library that you have access to for 6 months that allows you to improve your photography skills. It allows you to improve your mindset. It allows you to improve your money mindset, right? It's got all these things included in it because I had to think about what are the things I wish I had when I started my business. And so I put them all into an academy. While that is a whole lot of stuff, that is one product. That is one product, not 13. Do you see the difference? If you have multiple classes, there's also baking classes included in there, right? So if you want to know how to run your own classes, you can watch my cookie decorating class. You can watch the baking class. You can see my kids' baking class. They're all very different. And if you want to see how all these things play out, I included them inside of the academy, but that is just one product. Can you buy them a la carte? You can. But the thing that I want to be known for is helping bakers bake their way to six figures. That's it. That's the signature product. You cannot make six figures in your business if you don't understand marketing, if you don't understand the importance of having good pictures, if you don't understand a money mindset, if you don't understand that whatever you went through in your childhood is going to show up as an entrepreneur, and that is how you base your pricing, that is how you show up with your customers, that is why you won't hire more people, that is why you won't delegate. All of this is important. And the reason that I had to put it all in there together as one signature offer is because when you think of me, you're going to understand that not only am I a business strategist, not only do I teach alignment, but I teach abundance mindset as well. And so you get it all in one thing, but that's just one product. So if you've got 12, 13 different products, how do you package all that into one signature product? You also learn how to do that inside of the 16 weeks with me. So that was the extra one that you get. Okay, so let's talk about number 5. Just use QuickBooks. It'll handle your money. Y'all, this one. No, don't do that. Okay, yes, you can use QuickBooks if you want to. You can use Xero. You can use whatever floats your boat. I don't care what the accounting software is. You absolutely will need it. You absolutely will need to use it, but don't set it and forget it. You need to be intimately involved with your money. The thing that I was told was, oh, you just need QuickBooks and then hook it up to your payment processors. And at the end of the year, your bookkeeper can put it all together. After many years of working with more than one bookkeeper who have been extremely frustrated at the end of the year because I didn't look at my money any other time of the year to actually see what my profit and loss was. And I would be surprised at the end of the year to see how much I made or didn't make. Don't do that. Don't do it to yourself, and don't do it to your bookkeepers. This year, I have been very intentional about Money Move Mondays. And so here's what my Mondays look like. I am looking at my money. I know how much money is going out of my account every week. I know how much is coming into my account every week. I also know the cost of my dream life. So I planned out the top of the year, how much money I want to make for the year. What does that look like per month? What does that look like per launch? What does that look like at various times of the year? Because things change. And I am very aware of this, right? So I'm looking at my money intimately. How much is left on this particular payment plan? Okay, well, looking at the interest that's being charged versus how much is left, I wonder if I can call this company and see if I can settle it. I wonder if I can just go ahead and double up on a payment over here, skip a payment over here, pay this off, and then catch back up next month on this, right? Like I am intimately involved in my money. And because I am now, I'm not going to be surprised at the end of the year of like, did I make my money goal or not? I'm looking at it every Monday. And every Monday, I can see whether or not I'm closer or further away from where I would like to be. And it's a very, very realistic expectation of what I can see happening, of what I can forecast, right? You can't outsource what you don't understand. You have got to become intimate with your money and understanding what it is as an entrepreneur. Okay. And just as a side note for this one, on the next episode, on our 100th episode of the Kitchen Table Dreams podcast, I have a special guest, Dr. Steve, the future Dr. Stephen Lotz. He's a professor at Georgia State University who teaches entrepreneurship. And we are going to dig into so many things that entrepreneurs need to know. Particularly when it comes to money. We talk about investing as an entrepreneur, and that one kind of shocked me. when he recommends you should be investing as an entrepreneur, I'm not going to lie to you. I was shocked. I was not expecting him to say that. And I was like, oh, okay then, Professor Lott, thank you. Thank you for this information. It's time to change some things. And I can't wait for you to hear it next week. So just make sure you guys are tuning in next week for the 100th episode of the podcast, where we are going to have Professor Stephen Lott from Georgia State on talking about entrepreneurship and ways that you can become a better entrepreneur to reach your money goals. So sticking with number 4, just set it and forget it using QuickBooks. You need to know your numbers, know your power. The question I want you to ask yourself is, how close am I to my dream, and what's the next offer that bridges the gap? All right. And then lastly, price for the market. Yo, I was told this one. Another way people say this is do market research when you're setting your prices. And I had a coach, my current coach, ask this question. If everybody is doing market research, what are they basing their prices on? If you are basing your prices off of somebody else and somebody else is basing their prices off of somebody else, what are you basing your prices on? If you sit with that for a second, particularly if you are a new entrepreneur and somebody told you to price based on the market, they told you to go do some market research and see how much people are charging for their products. If you can't see their profit or loss statement and actually understand if these people are actually making a profit, what are you basing your prices off? The lesson that I had to learn with this is price for your profit, not their panic. All right, stick with me and hang on. We're almost done. Strategic pricing equals empowered business. Inside of my 16-week course, we are going to talk about pricing based on your lifestyle. Okay. This comes from like the profit first analogy, meaning you pay yourself before anything else. Your pricing is not based on, well, the person down the street is running a $2 cupcake sale. I don't give a darn about a $2 cupcake sale, because I can tell you right now, the eggs cost too much for anybody to be running a $2 cupcake sale right now. All right. So when we dig into pricing reflecting value, expenses, and goals, not what other people are out there doing, there is a customer for everybody. There is a customer for everybody. On Facebook this week, one of my mutuals, Quentin, posted he made a post on Facebook about McDonald's offering birthday parties for $900 party packages. Now, we don't know if this is a real thing or not, but as soon as I saw it, my comment on that post was, this is a lesson for all people offering birthday party packages. Raise your prices. Raise your prices. You out here trying to compete with people who are not on your level. I went to culinary school. I am an educator. I have degrees in education. I have written textbooks for children. People all over the world teach other children via my textbook. There is no way I am going to cost the same amount of money as one of my students. There's absolutely no way. I'm going to cost more. I'm going to cost more because I created it. It is inside of me. My value is going to be higher than someone who buys my book on Amazon, uses it to go and teach classes. I wrote the book. I literally wrote the book on it. And because of that, my pricing is going to be higher than the person who went and spent $20 on Amazon to buy the book. That just makes sense. It does not make sense for me to price my classes the same way one of my students would price theirs. You're learning from me. Why would I price my class at the same price? None of that makes sense, right? And so you have to understand that pricing for the market doesn't work. Your competitors, if they haven't taken a pricing class, they don't understand their own value, they have undervalued and undercharged, just means that all of y'all out here undervaluing and undercharging for your goods. And so that one is probably, even though it's the last one that I'm telling you, it's probably the worst bit of advice that I ever got. And I got it a lot, was pricing for the market. The thing that they told us in culinary school was we should look for a 30% overage, like a 30% profit when we were doing cakes. That's what they told me in culinary school 13 years ago, is that it should be 30% over whatever the pricing is now. Even if I did it at 30% over, like a 30% profit was hit in my pocket, even if I did that now, it would still be more than what most bakers are charging for their baked goods because they don't understand pricing. So those are the worst pieces of advice that I have received over the last 13, 14 years as an entrepreneur. But here's what I want you guys to take away from this. Bad advice isn't always obvious. It is not. It is not always obvious. It often comes from well-meaning people with outdated mindsets. But you have an opportunity to choose differently. You get to bake something better. Understanding, if we take it back to the pound cake, right? I'm sure you've learned some things about pound cake on this episode you didn't know you were going to learn. And I hope that you understand the creaming method of your butter and sugar. It should actually be creamy. It should actually be aerated. You should actually be able to rub it between your fingers and you don't feel the crystals from the sugar, right? Like, these are things that happen to make this cake come out very fluffy and do the things you want to do. You have to understand your method. You must choose your ingredients well, and you must master your own oven and not always borrow someone else's recipe when you are in this game of entrepreneurship. If this episode hit home for you, please make sure you are subscribed to the Kitchen Table Dreams podcast and share this with a fellow creative entrepreneur who needs a reality check and a realigned roadmap. If you are ready to turn your kitchen skills into a six-figure business or more than six-figure business, I would love for you to come visit us over at teachmehowtobake.com, where you can check out Baking Your Way to Six Figures Mastermind. That will be getting started on April 15th. We are going to run through the end of July, and I can assure you it will be a life-changing situation. Is this mastermind only for bakers or people in the culinary industry? It is not. Honestly, even though I'm a baker, that is where my passion lies. It is for any creative entrepreneur who wants to get their back end together, who wants to put systems in place in order to grow their business, in order to effectively bring in six figures, regardless to what the current administration is doing, regardless to what the economy is doing. There are businesses that still thrive even in a recession, and I want to help you make that happen for you. Until next time, friends, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week on our 100th podcast episode with Professor Stephen Lai.